Good evening, everyone. This is the weather briefing for the 2023 Milwaukegon race from Waukegan up to Milwaukee on Saturday, August 12th. This weather briefing is sponsored by North Sales. Okay, just a reminder that this is the forecast and overview of how things look at the moment. You should monitor official forecasts and warnings. Those are available, of course, on the internet. If you don't have access while you're offshore, you can tune into the VHF broadcast on NOAA Weather Radio or All Hazards Radio and get the latest updates. It's important that you keep that. As you know, the weather can change quickly on the lakes, and you want to be ahead of that as much as you can. If things don't look right, they probably aren't. And so you should be monitoring in case things are changing and they're issuing warnings and advisories for you. A couple other things is don't assume that your weather app is up to date. Again, the NOAA Weather Radio is the best way to get the information that will be up to the minute information, especially when they're issuing warnings. And be careful when you're interpreting any radar imagery from your weather app. It can be delayed by multiple minutes. It is not truly real time. It's not like the app is connected directly to the radar. So sometimes in fast changing weather conditions, the radar can be lagging behind what is actually going on where you are. You're responsible for the safety of your crew, so be proactive in doing that, and remember to keep safety first and racing second. All right, thunderstorm outlook. We had some thunderstorms on the lake today, Friday. Looks like by tomorrow morning, and we're going to have some more overnight actually tonight, but it looks like by tomorrow morning those will be moving out to the Michigan shore and then southeast of the Lake Michigan, and we should have some improving weather moving onto the lake. So right now, although there may be some thunderstorms first thing in the morning early, I think all that activity will be moving away from you for most of the day. There's an outside chance of some showers dropping down into the northern half of the lake tomorrow afternoon and evening. Right now, it looks like those will stay clear of the racing area. All right, on the weather maps, weather charts, we have a low pressure area tomorrow morning. This is the low that's causing the weather on the lake today, and will cause a little bit of weather tonight, but it's going to be moving out to the northeast. Cold front moves across the lake overnight, and we get a switch to a west and northwest gradient on the southern half of Lake Michigan. It'll be a little bit strong overnight after the shift, but that looks to be pretty short-lived. If we look at the outlook here for 1300, we see the lows moved up to the into southeastern Ontario and is indeed weakening. There's where we have two isobars across the northern part of the lake at 7 a.m. We only have one isobar at 1 p.m. So that gradient will be easing off, and particularly over the southern part of the lake, it looks like the gradient goes slack. You'll notice as we go into 7 p.m., there's no isobars across the lake. So pretty weak gradient flow. And I'm expecting that the gradient will be weak enough tomorrow that we will actually shift into a lake breeze by tomorrow afternoon. On the lake, the temperatures, we're pretty much running close to average right now on a lake-wide average. It appears that we've got some warmer lake temperatures, of course, in the southern part of the lake, and they cool up to the north. Mostly in the 70s, low to mid 70s along the race route, except really close into shore up north of Racine. Temperatures do get a little bit cooler down into the middle and upper 60s. If we look at the forecast radar chart for tomorrow, again, this is the model's expectation with respect to possibility of showers and thunderstorms on the lake. Here is the forecast for 6 a.m. and you can see some cells just having moved east of and southeast of Waukegan at that time. So but it clearing out to the northwest. And if I put this into motion, we see the cells do indeed move off the do indeed move off the lake for most of the day. A few random cells develop across northern Wisconsin and drop down into the sort of central northern portion of Lake Michigan, but offshore of the course area tomorrow afternoon. So right now, looking like we're pretty clear of conditions after some activity overnight, and it should be a pretty nice day on the water all in all. All right, tomorrow morning, we're expecting a gradient flow as that low lifts out to the northeast and the southeast Ontario. So basically, we've got wind speeds here. The green is sort of over 10 knots, getting up to the yellow and orange. Those are 20-knot winds, that area. We're leaving from Waukegan down here, sailing up, rounding Racine, the buoy off Racine, and then up to Milwaukee. The expectation is that in the morning, the wind will have decoupled due to the land cooling overnight. And so a little bit lighter on the inshore side, stronger mixed breeze out over the lake. As we go through the morning, the wind mixes a little bit on shore as it starts to heat up. So we see the wind speeds start to increase there and connect and get a little bit more even on the lakeshore side rather than the light breezes expanding offshore. Still basically from the west northwest at this time, but as we go into the latter part of the morning, here on the left is a forecast for 1100. We see sort of a broad easing on the wind field. Particularly look over the lake, you can see the wind starting to ease there, where we had some breezes up close to 20 knots at sunrise. They're dropping down now more into the low teens. Mixing has increased the wind a little bit over the land there, but we do have a thermal component which is starting to develop. So with clear skies, expecting the land to heat up here into the mid 70s, maybe even touching 80 on the interior. Lake temperatures here, as I said, are sort of running in the low 70s. So we'll start to see a component shift to try and offset this west northwest breeze as a land breeze here late in the morning. And then you can see on early afternoon that we've got fully mixed breeze now over the land, a northwesterly, even up into the low teens at times. But on the lake, it's trying hard. It's working very hard to go into a lake breeze. So the wind has basically died out there. We have lots of sinking air on the lake, rising air over the land. We may very well see some cumulus inshore by midday, early afternoon. So the morning breezes that start us off from Waukegan and take us north collapse late morning, midday. And by early afternoon, we will start to see them turn around into a lake breeze. And here we are in the afternoon. You can see that lake breeze going. We've got a convergent zone right in on the shoreline, all the way from Waukegan all the way up to Milwaukee, with northwest winds in the interior and southeast winds building along the lake shore here. And then as we go into the evening hours, that gradient and the land starts to cool, so the gradient decouples, and we see the breeze dying on the land, and the lake breeze component continuing though on the waters out there. And we will be shifting into a little bit of a southerly gradient overnight. So that south component wind out there that the lake breeze initiates Saturday afternoon will continue into Saturday evening. So with this forecast, once we basically, it looks like the routing is going to be fairly close to shore to take advantage of this, the mixing gradient coming off the shore in the morning, and then in the afternoon being ready and set up for this lake breeze as it develops. And when we do the routing, we kind of see that on the right here. I've got a sample routing so we can see that there's offshore winds here early on, and then a period of some pretty light breezes, and then finally the lake breeze comes in, and that takes us north, and that wind continues to increase. And as it increases, it also starts to veer around more into the from east southeast into the southeast, and eventually south southeast. This is showing taking you offshore, ideally to get to get ready for that shift. But depending on the speed of your boat and how quickly you're going north, it's really going to turn into sort of a VMG run, I think, up toward the finish. As far as the wind speeds are concerned, again, it's not a blistering race by any means. We've got these offshore winds in the morning, and then sort of a light and variable period here in the late morning, and then finally the lake breeze kicking in here for the afternoon. Winds generally 6 to 10 knots in the offshore wind at first, but that'll die and we'll go through this light patch late morning, midday, and then when the lake breeze fills, it'll finally come in and build sort of into the 6 to 10 range. Expecting pretty flat water tomorrow morning, because we'll have this offshore breeze overnight, so that should knock any waves down. But then later in the afternoon, as the sea breeze matures, we will see a little bit of a southeasterly chop develop on the lake. And as I said, temperature is looking pretty reasonable, 60 to 75 on the lake, although on the interior land areas, it's very possible it'll get up to 80. So all in all, weather looks good once we clear those early storms out. Again, I don't think they'll be impactful, but pretty light winds and pretty flat water on your way up to Milwaukee. Have a good and safe race. And once again, I thank North Sails for sponsoring this weather briefing.